What happens when Hollywood's most unpredictable legend crosses paths with daytime TV's sharpest, most provocative host? Strap in, because what you're about to see is a television moment that will be remembered and talked about for decades. But before we dive into this unforgettable clash, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave a comment, because this story is nothing short of iconic. The energy in the studio that day was electric before Jack Nicholson even walked through the door. Known as much for his legendary performances as for his famously intense personality, Nicholson was appearing to promote his latest film. But no one could have predicted just how quickly the conversation would ignite into pure fireworks. At the table, Joy Bahar sat poised, a sly smirk barely visible as she shuffled her notes. Weeks of anticipation had led to this moment, a chance to sit face to face with the Hollywood titan. But behind that composed exterior was a sharper edge, a sense that this interview would be about more than just a new movie. Could the audience feel the tension building even before the first question? Then, with the fanfare it deserved, Whoopi Goldberg announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the incomparable Jack Nicholson." The applause was deafening. Nicholson strolled in with his signature swagger, that mischievous grin lighting up the studio, sunglasses perched atop his head, dressed all in black, every inch the cinematic rebel. "Jack, thank you so much for being here," Whoopi said warmly. "We're thrilled to have you." "The pleasure is all mine, ladies," Nicholson replied, his gravelly voice filling the room. "Though I have to admit, quite the intimidating panel you've got here." Laughter rippled through the audience. For a moment, it seemed like just another normal interview. Sarah Haynes and Alyssa Fenhold exchanged starstruck smiles. But Joy's eyes never left Nicholson. They narrowed slightly, calculating, ready to strike. "So, Jack," Joy began, leaning forward like a predator about to pounce. "Let's talk about your new film. But first, let's revisit some of your past remarks about women in Hollywood." The studio went silent. Nicholson's smile faltered for the first time, though he maintained his composure. "Well, Joy, context is everything, don't you think? What exactly are you referring to?" "You know exactly what I mean," Joy shot back, her tone razor sharp. "Your behavior toward female co-stars over the years has raised some eyebrows." Whoopi tried to steer the conversation back. "Joy, maybe we should focus on Jack's current project." But Joy wasn't backing down. "No, this is important. This is a man who's been in Hollywood over 50 years, and there are plenty of stories about his conduct on set. Stories that wouldn't fly today." Nicholson's jaw tightened, yet his voice remained calm, measured. "Stories, Joy. Or gossip. There's a difference, and a responsible journalist should know that." "Are you questioning my integrity?" Joy snapped, her voice rising. Several audience members shifted uneasily. "I'm questioning your motives," Nicholson replied coolly. "You invited me here to discuss my work, but it seems you'd rather play prosecutor." The tension in the room was almost tangible. Sarah and Alyssa exchanged worried glances while the audience sat frozen, completely captivated. "My motives are crystal clear, Jack. I'm holding you accountable for decades of problematic behavior. Someone has to." Nicholson leaned back, intensity crackling in the air. "Problematic according to whom? You? Since when did you become Hollywood's moral compass?" "Since I decided to stop letting men like you skate by on charm and reputation alone," she shot back, resolute. The studio went utterly silent. Even the cameras seemed to pause, as if holding their breath. "Men like me," Nicholson murmured, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You have no idea what you're talking about. You're tossing accusations based on tabloid rumors, and you call yourself a journalist?" "I call myself someone who asks the hard questions," Joy fired back, "unlike most in this town who just kiss up to you because of your status." A low, humorless laugh escaped Nicholson. The room felt like it had stopped time, waiting to see what would happen next. "You haven't asked me a single thing about my craft, my process, or why I'm actually here," Nicholson snapped, his gruff voice cutting through the tension. "All you've done is attack my character based on hearsay." Whoopi stepped in, trying to calm the storm. "Guys, let's take a step back." "No." Joy cut her off sharply. "I'm not done, Jack. You've been given a free pass for far too long. Your reputation, your arrogance, your treatment of women, it's all out there." Joy fired, her voice steady, unwavering. "Documented for everyone to see." Nicholson's eyes flickered dangerously, the calm mask slipping just slightly. "Documented where? The National Enquirer?" His voice carried a sharp edge that made the audience flinch. "Show me one credible source, one verified incident, One actual victim who's come forward with a legitimate complaint. I don't need to prove anything to you. Joy shot back, unwavering. The whispers speak for themselves. The whispers? Nicholson's tone rose, each word slicing through the studio air. You're building a case against me based on whispers? Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? Whatever happened to journalistic standards? The other hosts exchanged anxious glances. This wasn't just a heated discussion anymore. This was a battle. Lines had been crossed. Everyone could feel it. Don't lecture me about standards, Joy fired, leaning in, eyes flashing. From someone who made a career playing psychopaths, and then bringing that energy into real life. That was it. That was the spark. Nicholson, who had been restraining himself, finally snapped. In a sudden motion, he shot to his feet, the chair screeching against the floor. The studio gasped. The charming Hollywood legend everyone thought they knew had vanished, replaced by a towering, menacing force. You want to see a psychopath, Joy? He bellowed, his voice reverberating like thunder. You just crossed a line you can't uncross. How dare you sit here and assassinate my character on national television with nothing to back it up? Joy, though visibly shaken, refused to retreat. Sit down, Jack. You're proving my point perfectly right now. Nicholson's laugh was dark, bitter, and threatening. Your point? Character assassination masquerading as journalism? You're a hack, Joy? Everyone here knows it. Except apparently you. The studio erupted in murmurs. Security tensed, unsure if they might need to step in. Whoopi waved frantically at the producers off camera while Sarah and Alyssa remained frozen, caught somewhere between disbelief and horror. I'm a hack? Joy's voice cracked, but her defiance held firm. At least I'm not a has-been actor clinging to past glory while terrorizing everyone around me. Nicholson slammed his hand on the table, sending coffee mugs leaping. Has-been? Lady, I've forgotten more about acting than you'll ever know about anything. And terrorizing people? The only person terrorizing anyone here is you ambushing a guest with unsubstantiated garbage. Unsubstantiated? Joy shrieked, her voice rising. What about your temper, your treatment of women, your impossible demands on set? Ask anyone. Nicholson leaned forward, every muscle taut, eyes burning. Ask anyone, or ask the tabloids you've apparently been getting your facts from. You know your problem, Joy. You've spent so long talking about other people's lives, you've forgotten what integrity even means. The words landed like a punch. Joy's face paled, then flushed red with rage. How dare you question my integrity? I've been in this business longer than you think, and I've earned my place at this table. Earned your place? Nicholson spat, venom dripping from every word. By ambushing guests, spreading gossip, turning what should be a professional interview into a kangaroo court? If that's how you earned it, it isn't worth having. Finally, Whoopi raised her voice, trying to restore order. Jack, Joy, we need to calm down right now. But Joy was beyond reason. Her polished professional facade had shattered. Don't tell me to calm down, Whoopi. This man has been getting away with his behavior for decades, and someone has to call him out. My behavior? Nicholson's voice reached a crescendo, shaking the walls of the studio. What behavior, Joy? Show me one witness, one police report, one lawsuit, one shred of evidence to back up any of your claims. You can't, because there isn't any. I don't need evidence, Jack, Joy screamed back. I have sources, I have stories, decades of whispers and rumors pointing to the same conclusion. Whispers and rumors? Nicholson threw his hands up, exasperation boiling over. The tension in the studio had become nearly unbearable. The audience sat in stunned silence, realizing they were witnessing a historic confrontation, one that would be replayed and dissected for years to come. That's your standard of proof? Nicholson's voice cut through the room like a whip. In what world is that acceptable journalism? You're not a reporter, Joy. You're a gossip monger with a platform, and that makes you dangerous. The studio was utterly silent. Every eye was locked on them, every camera rolling. Everyone sensing they were witnessing a collision of legends, one driven by decades of fame, fury, and principle. I'm dangerous, Joy's voice rose, trembling with fury but controlled, ready to push back. You're the one standing there screaming and intimidating everyone, Joy shot back, eyes blazing. You're proving everything I said about you. I'm proving that I'm human, Nicholson countered, voice steady, unshaken. When someone attacks my character and my reputation based on lies and gossip, I will defend myself. That's not psychopathic behavior. That's normal human behavior. Joy scoffed, a bitter, cutting laugh. Normal human behavior? Normal? Nicholson echoed, incredulous. These aren't concerns, Joy. They're accusations. And they come from someone who never intended to conduct a fair interview the moment I walked in here. Sarah Haynes tried to interject, her voice cautious. Maybe we should... No, Joy snapped, cutting her off mid-sentence. Her eyes locked on Nicholson with predator-like intensity. We're finishing this conversation, Jack. The way you're reacting tells me everything I need to know about who you really are. Nicholson leaned across the table, mere inches from her face, intensity radiating. You want to know who I really am? I'm someone who's spent his entire life perfecting his craft. Someone who treats every colleague with respect, until proven otherwise. And I do not appreciate being ambushed by a 2-bit talk show host with delusions of grandeur. 2-bit? Joy practically screamed, leaning forward. I've been on television longer than most people have been alive. I've interviewed presidents, world leaders, A-list celebrities. And apparently, I've learned nothing about professionalism or basic decency from any of them. Nicholson cut her off sharply, his voice like steel. A real journalist would have done her homework. Specific questions, specific incidents, a chance for me to respond before launching an attack. I gave you plenty of chances. You could have addressed concerns honestly instead of getting defensive. Defensive? Joy shot back, incredulous. Nicholson's laugh was sharp, bitter, edged with incredulity. Lady, when someone accuses you of decades of misconduct on national television, without a single fact, defensive is the least you should expect. What I showed you was honest outrage. Someone tired of being judged by people who don't know the first thing about him. The tension in the studio was palpable, thick enough to cut with a knife. Producers scrambled, debating whether to cut to commercial. Security tensed, ready for escalation. The other hosts looked like they wanted to vanish entirely. But Joy wasn't done. Her eyes blazed with fury as she launched what she believed would be the knockout punch. You know what, Jack? She hissed. The truth is, you're a relic from a different era. An era where men like you could get away with anything because of your status. Well, those days are over. For a fleeting moment, Nicholson's face went pale, then flushed crimson. The studio collectively held its breath. A relic? His voice dropped to a deadly, almost terrifying whisper. You want to talk about relics, Joy? Let's talk about washed-up talk show hosts who think they're investigative journalists. Let's talk about people who make careers tearing others down because they can't build anything themselves. At least I'm not living in denial about who I am. Pretending to be America's sweetheart while hiding a history of problematic behavior, Joy fired back, trembling with rage. America's sweetheart? Nicholson laughed, a cold, cutting sound. Lady, I've never pretended to be anything other than exactly what I am, an actor devoted to his craft, never hiding behind false personas, never taking cheap shots at anyone's reputation. Whoopi made one final attempt to intervene. This has gone far enough. We need to... No, Whoopi, Nicholson interrupted, eyes locked on Joy. She wants to play this game. We're going to finish it. The air in the studio was electric, taut with anticipation. Everyone watching knew this was no ordinary interview. This was a showdown destined to be remembered as one of television's most explosive confrontations. You want to know what's problematic, Joy? Nicholson thundered, voice shaking the studio walls. Problematic is using your platform to spread unverified gossip. Problematic is assassinating someone's character without evidence. Problematic is what you've done here today. Joy rose to meet his intensity, posture mirroring his, defiance in every line of her body. What's problematic? She shot back. 50 years of Hollywood protecting men like you while silencing the voices that tried to speak out. Nicholson's voice cut cold and precise. Show me these voices, Joy. Names, dates, specific incidents. Put up or shut up. I'm tired of insinuations and accusations with no substance. I don't owe you anything, Joy screamed, her voice cracking but filled with fire. The burden of proof isn't on me. It's on you to prove that you're not the person everyone says you are. The studio erupted. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Audience members sat frozen, unable to look away. Crew members debated intervention, unsure whether to step in or let history unfold in front of them. Everyone says, Nicholson's voice boomed, cutting through the chaos, who is everyone, Joy? Your gossip sources, your tabloid contacts? Nicholson's voice dripped with controlled fury. I can give you names, directors I've worked with, actors I've supported, crew I've mentored, people who actually know me, and they'll tell you a very different story. Those people are protecting you because of your power in the industry. Joy fired back, eyes flashing. Or maybe, Nicholson interrupted, oozing disdain, those people are telling the truth. And you're the one who's wrong. Maybe you've gotten so consumed with gotcha journalism that you've forgotten how to distinguish fact from fiction. Joy's face contorted in rage. Don't lecture me about facts when your entire career has been built on intimidation and manipulation. My career, Nicholson said slowly, deliberately, has been built on talent, dedication, and professionalism. 3 things you clearly know nothing about, judging by this pathetic display. The words landed like a hammer. Joy's composure, what little remained, shattered. How dare you question my professionalism? I've been doing this job since before you were relevant. Before I was relevant. Nicholson's laugh cut through the studio, harsh and mocking. Lady, I've been relevant longer than you've been alive, and I'll still be relevant long after people forget you ever existed. That's enough, Whoopi finally shouted, slamming her hand on the table. This stops right now. But it was too late. Both were too far gone. You want to know what's enough? Joy's voice was raw, trembling with anger. Decades of men like him thinking they can intimidate and silence anyone who dares question them. Intimidate and silence? Nicholson's voice dripped with incredulity. You're the one who came out swinging the moment I sat down. You turned what should have been a professional interview into a personal attack, and now you want to play the victim? I'm not playing anything, Joy shot back. I'm exposing the truth about who you really are beneath all the Hollywood gloss. Nicholson leaned forward one final time, deadly calm. The truth, he said, voice cold as steel, is that you're a bitter, washed-up hack, so desperate for relevance you'll destroy anyone's reputation to get attention. The truth is, you've embarrassed yourself, your co-hosts, your network, and your profession today. Joy opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, she seemed genuinely speechless. Nicholson straightened his jacket and turned to the cameras. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what passes for journalism these days. Character assassination based on gossip and rumor, delivered by someone more interested in controversy than truth. Turning back to Joy, his voice calm but filled with contempt, he said, "You should be ashamed of yourself. You had the chance to conduct a professional interview with someone who's dedicated his life to entertaining people, and instead you turned it into a witch hunt. That says everything about who you are, and nothing about who I am." With that, Nicholson removed his microphone, placed it carefully on the table, and walked off the set without another word. The studio remained in stunned silence. His footsteps echoed as the reality of what had just happened began to sink in. Joy Bahar sat back down heavily, pale and trembling. The other hosts exchanged shocked glances. The audience sat frozen, unsure how to react to the historic confrontation they had just witnessed. Finally, Whoopi broke the silence. We'll be right back after this commercial break. As the cameras stopped rolling, the truth became clear. Joy had tried to take down one of Hollywood's greatest legends, and in the process, she had destroyed her own credibility. What was meant to expose Jack Nicholson ended up revealing the dangers of ambush journalism and accusations without evidence. The confrontation would be remembered for years, but not in the way Joy intended. Instead of being hailed as the journalist who held Nicholson accountable, she would be remembered as the host whose personal agenda destroyed her professionalism in front of millions. Jack Nicholson walked away victorious, leaving his accuser to face the consequences of her own actions. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the incredible story of the day Jack Nicholson erupted on The View. So, what do you think? Was Joy Bahar out of line? Or was she justified in pressing Nicholson on these issues? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's settle this debate once and for all.